Let your conscience be your guide. If we could only apply these simple words of advice on an individual level and scale that mindset up to a global level, we could resolve all the challenges we face today. We are going through some challenging times and facing some difficult decisions, and only through collective conscientious decisions will we be able to move forward to a sustainable future. We have the collective knowledge to solve all our problems if we could only apply our intelligence towards the greater good instead of self-serving and destructive purposes. If we all committed ourselves to doing the right thing, we could transform this planet into the paradise it was meant to be. But it begins with each of us as individuals. Conscientious people form conscientious communities by supporting conscientious leaders. The questions we must answer are: 1, do we have any sincere connectivity to each other? 2, do we have any responsibility to each other and to the next generation? Or is human life and every man for himself experience? Are we just here to abuse and manipulate each other for our personal pleasures and profit? Your answer to these questions will determine your perception of the need for change. If we believe that we are connected, if we believe in justice and in caring for our fellow human beings, then we must make decisions and, more importantly, support policies and leaders that are aligned to those ideals. We must learn how to consistently do the right thing as individuals and as communities. That will lead to us doing the right thing as a species. Our minds are made up of 4 dimensions: the intellect, the ego, our emotions, and our conscience. Each is an important part of shaping our perspective of the world and our personalities. When these dimensions are out of balance, a person is vulnerable to antisocial decisions and/or behaviors. In cases of extreme distortion, we have clinical terms for specific outcomes, such as a psychopath for a particular imbalance of the ego, or paranoia for when fear runs amok. And we have developed programs to treat with these imbalances, such as anger management when someone is unable to deal with their anger issues. To resolve our global challenges, we must elevate our consciousness at least to a global level. Most of us operate on a tribal level of consciousness because we have been conditioned to think that way. And it is psychologically impossible for us to genuinely care for each other as fellow human beings if deep down inside, because we belong to a different tribe, whether it be race, creed, or political party, we see each other as enemies. Under our current stressful conditions, many of us are responding either from an ego or emotional perspective, fear being the number 1 factor. Fear leads to panic and poor decisions. Fear also makes us vulnerable to divide and conquer tactics as we look for someone to blame for our problems. Our conscience has been silenced and our ego has run amok and blinded us to the reality that we are collectively using our intellect to bring about irreparable damage to ourselves and our planet. Now, our systems are collapsing and our emotions are in panic mode. We need to calm down and make good decisions, not turn on each other. To elevate our consciousness, we must activate our conscience as the primary dimension of our decision-making process. Assuming we have access to all relevant information on any particular issue, our intellect will lead us to a right and wrong answer after analysis of the facts. Most of us think that our intellect is in charge of our mind, but the reality is that our ego, our identity, is really in charge. Once we commit to a certain identity, our ego will hijack the intellect and only seek out and acknowledge information that supports that particular identity. The ego is all about self, and its primary concern is the identity's agenda. That is where the conscience comes in. The conscience is there to remind us that we have a moral and collective responsibility and to keep the ego in check. Our conscience will let us know if any particular decision is good or bad from a moral perspective after considering the intent and the potential impact on others. We must contain our emotions, use our intellect to gather the information we need to make informed decisions, and be guided by our conscience with regards to the moral integrity of the positions and the people we support. Our social cultures are reflective of the collective mindset. In the West, we have social structures that mirror the dimensions of the mind and serve the same purposes. The government is supposed to be the intellect of society, responsible for making calculated, informed decisions on the best ways to manage the nation's resources and serve the interests of the people. The people reflect the emotions. The collective mood of the people, whether it be unrest, satisfaction, or rebellion, reflect the past performance of the government and influences the future actions of the government. The business community is the ego, and our capitalist identity is self-serving to the core. There's one single agenda: profit, with very little regard for any damage caused to the people or to the environment. We are all well aware that big business controls government. So who represents the people? Our justice institutions, courts, commissions, and tribunals are supposed to be the conscience of society. Society depends on these institutions to limit exploitation, abuse, and corruption by businesses, individuals, and government officials. These institutions serve as the custodians of justice and have the highest degree of responsibility for delivering fair, just, and peaceful communities. The fact is, just like our individual conscience, our justice systems and governments have also been hijacked by the capitalist mentality. So our policies, our laws, and our justice are now for sale to the highest bidder. We must restore some sense of honor to our justice and leadership systems, or our communities will never recover. Our courts and justice system should be led by individuals that display the highest degree of integrity and honor, and they should be held to the highest level of accountability. And those that perform, those that truly serve justice and deliver peace, should be the highest paid individuals in the nation. If you are going to contribute to a better world, you just have to do two simple things. One, commit to doing the right thing. And two, support good leaders. Make informed decisions and trust your higher self.